Call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Bordenero, here. Mr. Fernandez, here. Mr. Grady, here. Mr. Holmes, here. Mr. Paris. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Any public comments? Approval of minutes, July 13th.
Make a motion to approve July 13th, 2021 meeting minutes.
Second.
Aye.
Okay, item number 1, we're going to discuss the Berlin school year quality study, potential future action. I invited the person that did the actual study to come in and explain it to us, because I think we should know, what's coming up.
He is supposed to join, but he's not on. Joining this Zoom session.
Can I just put it fast?
That's an addition that I received after I had sent all the information out.
But it's the Cliff Notes version.
It's
And it
from
basically-
Tom Reed, who's chair of the BBC on behalf of the BBC.
The way I just read this is, they don't have to do anything before COVID. They know that the grammar schools need it eventually, but not specifically. That's the way I just read this.
So, but this COVID funding can still be used for this.
Definitely. I would ask him, I have no clue.
Yes.
So that's obviously the direction we want to go, I would imagine.
I think that would be good. The plan is still to have a joint meeting in September with the council and finance to talk about the available uses of ARPA, because while I think this is a great use, there may be others who have other thoughts on how to use it that could potentially be better, and having public input, I think, is valuable. So those investments, we're talking millions of dollars.
Help me understand this one more time. I asked this 50 times. Is this gonna be considered one project or separate projects for bonding purposes?
That is going to be done. For bonding purposes, if it's one project, it is likely going to be past $5 million, which would require going roughly. If they are done separately, as separate individual projects like we did with the roofs, for example, on the different schools, then they would likely each be under 5. The current estimate is 6 to 10 million total
For the 3 elementary.
for the 3 combined. But that's the current estimate. The PVC asked for the study of Willard. So Willard had the design work done. It's the oldest one. And facilities director identified that as the school of first choice for do one. Those specs were 3 years old. So the PVC actually asked for and received updated specs. So that it is code, current code. And then that would be the model for the other 2. So they may move forward with Willard as the most pressing need for that one, especially if this funding is available.
As of now, what are we looking at for the COVID funding? So any new numbers or?
Nope, we have our numbers. The numbers that I given last time are the actual numbers. It is over $3 million each. We've received the first half of it. The second half will arrive in June next year. There's no way this project would begin before next summer, so all of that money could be in it. One thing to be aware of is you already earmarked $700,000 of that for the FY22 budget. That is an appropriate use because you have over $700,000, about $892,000 of identified lost revenue as of June 30, 2020. So the $700,000 applied towards that. So I don't think you have any risk of that, but what it does is reduce your number.
Is there any way that we're kicking a little bit on this by the money? Well, I did they get a separate amount?
They do. They have about 800,000. And that is certainly conceivable, and I think that would be worth.
I thought the mayor asked them for that, and I think they said yes, I think.
I thought there was something about that, yeah. So.
And I think during that joint
We get away
meeting,
with not having a budget, you know, because we're gonna have other things. we're gonna get with.
absolutely.
So
And
it's 2 to 4 million per school. Was it?
wow, and that number continues to go. I mean, right, if we were to do it right now, it would probably be one of the worst periods to do it in, because the cost of materials and everything is through the roof. Hopefully by next summer, that will settle down a little bit. It's gonna go down, and they're just gonna escalate it so much. And I did share with you, this is the executive summary, this was the letter from the EDC, but the full 367 page document is in there.
Yeah.
That's trouble sleeping.
Yeah, I read the 5 pages. So maybe some short-term things that you do, right? And that cost a lot, maybe help out. A lot of it was operational. They say, turn off, they say to keep the fans on for 24 hours at a time. No need to do that, those kind of things. Waste energy. It's not really operating.
They can't open the windows because it's security, right?
Right. So I don't know. I mean, you read like.
Because the old window opening seems to be a good solution.
It always worked. We didn't even know we would be deprived at the
What I
time. We just slept. Well, things that.
what I took from the TDC is that if the town is going to move forward with the larger project, that the recommendations were really necessary and something that effectively probably shouldn't be done, as long as the town is moving forward with a bigger project. And it's quieted down with the Board of Ed, with the study at hand. I feel like the feeling, at least from the conversations I've had, is if the town's moving forward, the teachers and administrators and everybody in the building regularly, and the parents, students obviously, see progress and see movement, then should be okay. It's kind of, if it sits there and do another study, we've got 12 studies since I've been here. At some point, come off the study and either do something else. Understand, I know you wanted to add it to the agenda.
Yeah, well, no, I wanted it to educate us and find out what happened.
Yeah, well,
So basically, I wanted just an education. It's just, yes, questions. You know, the education, get it through the papers, talk to the president. Something before we get the next year, the year after. Okay, so number 2, we move to appropriate 86,330 for Brownfield grant.
Make a motion to move to appropriate $86,330 Brownfield grant for Connecticut Sand Brownfield grant.
Second.
Discussion. To appropriate $3,100,000 to FY 22 general fund assigned fund balance to the pension control fund account over the general fund. I have a motion.
The motion to move to appropriate $2,100,000 up to 22 general fund unassigned fund balance to the pension control funding account within the general fund.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
I just have a curiosity question. So Sonis and Claremont Bell last week, when do they get their money?
should receive their money somewhere towards the tail end of August or
And have we heard the third one we thought that might be imminent? Is that?
I don't know, but there's one piece, police back in 2000, as part of the negotiation that closed this plan, introduced a post-retirement health insurance program. Every police officer contributes a percentage of their salary. Town doesn't contribute anything. It was invested in the general fund, which is a conservative investment vehicle. That money is now being moved into individual accounts. Basically, the intent they had of the plan is to realize the officers working much later and therefore aren't able to enjoy the benefits of that stop at age 65. So if you were to retire at 62, in 3 years, if you've worked 20 or 30 years, 50% of your salary, your health insurance premium at $500 or $600 a month, you're not going to go through all the money you put in. So we know there was at least one of the officers waiting for that money to move from the individual accounts. So tap into that money. We just received paperwork to make that move late this afternoon, so we will be doing that probably by the end of the week. So I expect once that happens, all other indications, like no longer funding an FSA, using up excess sick time, all the other indications are there. For this particular one particular person, his payout, I believe, is about 1.4 million.
And where, do you know where we are in the process for the chief?
They have the acting chief post a position description out there, which was pretty open. So I believe they received the number of applicants. I don't think anybody can interview at this point. Deputy chief, Susie's name, acting chief as of July 19th, and that's what they go through the process. I do also know that they're going to be going back through the testing processes that go back through the policing sergeant. And if there's internal movement at the higher levels, they would then have to backfill that position as well.
So after we pay this out, what's our fund balance?
Fund balance, at the end of the year, if you take this, the fund balance would be about 16.4 million
After this,
after this.
how many more retires?
The 5 active.
So it's another roughly 6 million.
Well, this 3.1 million get us through 2, potentially 3, depending on who they are and when they go.
It's pretty good. We're still good.
And you would be in good shape as far as the ability to pay for those folks. In fact, we're on taking a different stance, state or many other entities, and kind of met it head on and has put money away every year periodically for this event. When I arrived in October of 16, there were 17 active members. So at this point, people have paid out well over retired, people have paid them out. There's not too many places that can say that have a poorly funded pension plan in a 5-year period that paid out every month.
How much was in that fund balance when you got here in October 7th?
$68,000.
$68,000.
In the
How many
pension.
people were on?
No, not in
the
fund
plan?
balance.
Sorry,
Oh,
in the pension plan.
okay, I was
Sorry,
gonna say, what the hell?
sorry, in the pension plan.
Okay.
Trying to back, I want to say we were about 12% of the budget at that time was 85 million, so $10 million. $10 million. So
Kevin, is that 16.1 and include the potential surplus for the state?
Yes. But it does not include the impact of some things that we are probably coming to the council, and then if they approve to you guys, some items that we identified in the budget process, that if there's a surplus, we'd like to fund. And then a couple of other items that have come up during the year that are safety related. So,
Yeah, I got a question. Let's wait. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you voted on this. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Get that one.
For the update, I will quickly tell you we're in good pace for tax collection. We're about $400,000 behind where we were full July last year. The reason I say full July is we have all the money that was taken in at the counter and anything that's been received in the mail recorded. However, anything that's postmarked July 31st, which may or may not have been received by the office, is still a July payment. It will be reported as a July payment. It's on time. It's And so it is certainly conceivable, in fact, it's likely there will be more coming in. So I think we're on a good pace right now. We would expect to see somewhere in the neighborhood of about $14 million in August. And we have $3 million in the bank right now before today's collection deposit, so we're pacing as well. We are still seeing strength in both the clerk's office with conveyance tax, with real estate continues to move, and we are continuing to see strength in the building office. People are doing a lot. We have a lot of development, but we also have a lot of individual homeowners who continue to do work with homes. So that continues to be encouraging. Fortunately, I don't have good news for interest rates, as we all know, they continue to be conservative. That's kind of where they are. And the only other thing, obviously, Sally, you would ask for kind of a breakdown. And I tried to keep the list somewhat narrow, so 10,000 and above. Most of the items on here, as I went through, are highly variable. I don't typically project out variable items like refuse disposal as being favorable because we typically, we're talking about $1.9 million budgeted. So I kind of look at it and say any given month could be anywhere a couple $100,000 or more in a given month. Contractual services, there were projects that were in the works, things that were intended that didn't come to fruition, and then there were some other items in here like vehicle fuel and some of those where it just didn't drive quite as much and didn't pick up. I do expect that those will circle back more to the norm this year. Of course, there's one cautionary tale that everybody is looking at, which is the spike comes back up with masks and other things, and we'll continue to see some of that favorability. My hope is, quite honestly, that we don't, because that means our lifestyle goes back to what it was last year in the fall rather than what it's been the last few months. So we're spending a little bit of money and have the lifestyle we want.
Yeah, I guess the question, with respect to when you show the potential opportunities or whatever, we've been carrying about $1.8 million. So if you look at the expenditures to June, we're about $4 million favorable. So I just wanted to understand clearly.
I doubt he would have that big a surplus.
Well, but I mean, it showed the expenditure, for the month of June, it was favorable by $4 million. I just wanted an idea, where that favorability was. I guess the other thing is too.
So what do we think the surplus is?
Surplus overall net against higher revenues. Right now, I'd say it's about 1 billion. That's net. We did have some additional items, about $500,000 of expenses that do happen because that was through June, but we do continue to take in invoices and make payments into July that come in for June results. The biggest element that wasn't incorporated is Board of Ed. I never project out what the Board of Ed is going to have as a surplus, which is about $408,000. So between that and a little favorability on wages and fringes, and then we expected to fill a couple of positions that made offers.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of consistent the last 3 years too. We've had some, which is good, we've had a surplus. I guess the only question I have is we go forward on the budgeting process. And we look at certain things on a zero-based budgeting so we can understand clearly, if there's favorability, maybe we could apply more of the capital items or whatever, so that at the end of the year, when the surplus, may not be as high, but still conservative, but we could apply early in the year for other things.
Yep. And I think when it comes to the budget, I think there are a couple of areas that are probably worth having a deep discussion. Refuse disposal went against us a couple of years ago. Ironically, we've actually seen substantial improvement in the fees with that. So much lower fees in the past month. I don't know if you're seeing it in your business, but the charges we're getting per ton have been favorable. Now those could reverse themselves. But again, we were looking at close to 60 a ton, and now the last 2 months we've been about 28. So substantially lower. I'm not sure why. We'll look at that every month. And big smile on his face.
Scrap prices are up.
So
We started sending senators to 5 states.
Well, thank you for doing it.
But when you're looking at the potential things to buy, I put assignments on that. I was at Public Works this week. And I guess there was a desire to buy a hot box, which I didn't know.
They're planning. It did fall off.
Because that's yeah, because see, what the problem is that we have these potholes and the asphalt, they put it on the truck, especially in the winter time, the asphalt gets cold, then they gotta dump it, so we're wasting asphalt. If they have a hot box, that asphalt can stay there overnight, really. And I don't know how it warms up like propane or whatever. And it warms up the asphalt, so therefore we can store the asphalt. We don't have to go to Tilcon every day to buy full patch, whatever they buy. I guess that's, there's a need for it. I think this is, somebody told me like 20-25,000.
The one, they looked at a few items, they brought a few different models, they brought in a couple folks to look at them. I think the one they're looking at is somewhere around 27,000 to 40,000. In the highway department, there's a $25,000 line item for equipment. It's intended for smaller items, not large capital items, smaller items. So the superintendent has looked at several models, identified one that does work. It's a little bit more than that money, so we'd likely coming to the council in September and you guys to appropriate.
This is just,
So they're just basically moving money to something.
yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah, something that I think
That's
will
smart.
benefit the town long term too.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, you talked about storing it, but also in the winter, it's hard to keep.
Yeah,
things
they
warm.
dump it, they'll get like a ton or two plus of asphalt now, but they gotta dump it because there's only keep it warm. This is a plus for everybody.
So you should be seeing that to kind of move the money, put it in the place that we kind of.
What are you looking at for capital? What do you think?
Well, the things that were on the surplus list that we're talking about, one is some money for the installation of the rooftop units, those are the HVAC units that money from the 2% fund was used to buy both units instead of just one. This would help facilities, so it would be a combination of facilities and some outsourced electricians and some others to get those installed. We're probably looking at 10 to 15 years or longer before we get to deal with it. So it seems like a really wise thing to get in front of. These are fairly old items. Second one is police cruisers. We have put in there to purchase 3. Jim Simons talks about 3 as the typical annual cycle. And then the vehicles they have, which when he's replacing them, which would be 100,000 miles of engine life. So they move down to the building, the assessor, might be something else. Third one was town hall roof tape. For the last couple of years, we've had the town hall roof tape on here. You may see if you looked up at the gutters, the wire that's sticking out. Well, that wire is just not working anymore. It's broken. So the idea would be was that it's about $100,000 to do the entire area. Problem running into the winter, what happens is we end up with ice dams. You can end up with roof damage. Then you end up with people sitting up there trying to chip away the ice and potentially damaging the roof themselves too. So those were 3 items that were in the budget. We took them out and said, if there's surplus, we come back. Some of the others, we don't bond for contingency in our projects. We've had a fire radio project, like the police radio project, upgrade the 30-plus-year-old system. They're about $35,000 into contingency. Rather than bonding, I would propose, just like we did with police radios, to take some of that surplus, not bond it, pay for it. I have to firm up that number to make sure that we are at the end. Talked to Jim a few weeks ago, we were getting to the end. I want to make sure there's no other surprises, make sure it's a firm number. That would be one. Right now, that's about $35,000, so it's actually a small item. Highway truck, it's been a few years since we bought one, and before that, it was a number of years before we bought any. So that was one as well.
Don't we have one order now?
Now,
No.
there's some police vehicles,
No trucks.
Don't we have a fire truck?
fire truck.
Yeah, but
This is a highway.
highway trucks.
Highway truck, yeah,
When you say Jim Simons, I'm
yeah. He has the
Fire
whole fleet.
department, yeah. Okay, so highway department, Jim Simons, not fire chief.
Exactly. Hubbard Pool Liner. Steve Wood has identified that we're at risk of some of the liner of the Hubbard swimming pool potentially starting to crumble, at which point, whether people want to keep the pool, what happens with the community senior center, or what happens with the pool, would be kind of a self-employed process that would just be unsafe and have to be closed. He was proposing to get in front of that, reline it so that it can move back. South Kensington Fire Department, the roof is in tough shape, it's starting to leak. It's a very old school. And, we had some things on the capital plan for a while. This is one that sort of the facilities director was coming in and said, we really need to do that. And then finally, we're running out of space for vital records in the town clerk's office. So there is a proposal to reorganize the town clerk and assessor side to be able to take advantage of some of the vault space, which is a locked, sealed, has a control systems in the event of a fire, records would be safe and maintained. Expand that into the assessor's office and do reorganization of that office. Essentially, if you know where the assessor's office is, that would become the entrance. We would basically cut a hole in the wall, so we're now slightly up the wallway here. And then the new staff could move up, the town clerk could move over to
Look
the
at stuff online.
Sorry?
Keep the stuff online.
A lot of the stuff we can get online, but by statute, the court is required to keep a lot of the records. Plus, some of this stuff actually is extremely old. It's very, very old. Some original stuff. Many years. And then I believe by statute, Kate would know this better, but I think there are certain vital records, marriage licenses, and death certificates. I believe they're required to keep paper records. So she has one.
I was
Why,
there-
but I believe.
No, I was there today. Some lady came in for a death certificate. Her father who died in 1985. She needed a copy. They gave it to her. He charged her $20 for it, but they gave it to her.
Well, they have very.
It's 1980, and I was surprised that they have 1985.
And but they need to be in a vault like that, so they're locked and they're safe in the event of fire. So, those are the areas we're still going to meet. So it would be, Jim Simons does solar for facilities, like Ahern for public works, Seawood for grounds, and then Erosion myself, and make sure that that is the right list to come forward.
So that list, what is it in total?
It's about 850,000. So you'd be left with a little over $900,000 going to fund balance, or approximately half going to items and half going to fund balance. Which, if that were the case, would leave your fund balance at about 18.7. So if you took 3 away from that, you're talking 15.5 million or so.
How's the school project still? 2%. Is there
School projects.
the 2% account that we gave?
Oh, they've
They
purchased the two, or authorized to purchase the 2 units. They have started doing work on, I believe, on Willard and planning work on McGee. We did go out to bid for the lighting for the McGee library area, the media area. The bids came in much higher than what they asked for, so
Well, that's,
to the point where Doug hasn't even come to sit with me.
What was that,
$150.
$150,000 for lighting, and it came in higher?
well, yeah, this is.
I'm not sure, I say lighting, it's, I'm sure there's a lot.
Everything's
a lot more to
expensive
it.
today. Electricians,
That's very expensive for lighting.
I'm telling you, electricians, I had 3.
It's like warm lights, cold lights.
I
and stuff.
believe it's, yeah, it's
I had-
it's really redoing the whole media center.
I had,
It's $150,000 for lighting. That's a
Yeah,
lot
but-
of money.
but I had, I'm telling you, I have a general contractor doing some work. 3 electricians blew them off, they didn't come to the appointment because they're so busy, they don't want to work. They're so busy, they're looking at 3 years down the road to get new work. That's how busy they are, and they're getting top dollar right now. I mean, they're telling me they just named the price and the homeowner just writes the check.
Their school should be training electricians.
I mean, you know,
So let me ask you
idea.
everyone a question. We're funding capital with surplus, which is fine. We've already taxed the taxpayer. Should we be using all that surplus because we've already taxed the taxpayer? Because it doesn't seem like we should be taxing the taxpayer to put money in the bank account. We would, I'm not a town government guy, you are. But we've taxed them, should we give them something as opposed to putting it here?
You're asking the wrong guy here.
Well, no,
Say yes. It's silly when you think about it, when you run surpluses every year, it means you're overtaxing people. That's how it comes
Unless
out
you
in my
give them
brain.
something
Yeah,
like capital, okay. So maybe we could do it at the front end and put the capital in the budget, or do it like we're doing, but
we can't operate a town with no capital. I mean, I know
It
some
seems
people
like
would like to do that.
we
but
shouldn't
can't do that.
tax them to put it in the bank, we should tax them, at least give them something.
Yeah, I mean, if we have other items.
You're saying use the whole 1.8 million?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, if you have other items that you're gonna put in the budget next year for capital that you know.
I mean, Sal already suggested at the beginning, we should be doing that at the beginning of the year, which I'm never gonna disagree with ever.
But if you have.
Shouldn't we do that at the end of the year?
Mark's right, if you have certain things that you know that's gonna be on next year's capital budget, do it now that you have the money.
Well, keep in mind, you can do that at any point in time. You can assign
Yeah, but
fund
this-
balance for something and then we just appropriate it later
But
on.
you know what the needs are, we don't. So I mean, if you're getting together with your committee, whatever, don't you think you should discuss something?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
I mean, if you have Mark's right, $1.8 million. And we're sitting out $14 million in fund balance.
And I love having the.
I know you would,
but
I agree with you, but
if we're using surplus every year to fund capital,
we should buy capital.
we should just buy capital.
I mean, I agree.
I mean, the other aspect
With
of
more,
it is you take that surplus and you put it towards the pension liability too. You know what I'm saying?
He would love.
I mean, it's a liability that we have on the
Yeah,
books.
we have
yeah, public share liability, that's not a bad idea.
But we have $14 million.
It's not, especially when we think at least one and maybe two more to go.
But the point is, I've always been in favor of purchasing capital myself. If we tax the people.
I'll be honest, the next
I don't
item,
wanna overtax people, I mean, no way, but I mean,
the next item on my list,
the item is.
you said, what would you do with it next? We owe $400,000, just over $400,000 on the fire truck. We'll come in at some.
Okay, that's perfect.
We should pay
You
that
could
off.
pay that without bonding, and then you could use the
Absolutely.
excess for the down payment on the next truck. that we talked about.
Absolutely.
We could certainly do
Why
that.
don't you just?
That
pay
was
it?
actually what we had talked about at
That's
the
right.
capital meeting, was we were gonna pay off that.
I mean, why bond the truck?
Another 400,000.
Similar to the fire
So
rate,
we're
rather
doing
than
it in
bonding.
steps, but there's
Absolutely,
always one in the pipeline. Because
absolutely.
we ultimately, in the next few years, have to replace them all.
Every fire truck?
They're all 20 years old plus, yeah. And they're all of France, or most of them
Yeah,
are
we
of
can't
France,
get parts.
and they can't get parts.
We
Parts
bought-
have to be made or taken off the junk,
But yeah, that's a good idea, to put it towards the fire truck.
because that's exactly the conversation we had back in the spring.
Then
And I
that
think that's gonna be the best way.
that fire truck is paid, right, in cash, right? Am I right?
I mean, we bonded the down payment, then we would just, when it comes in, we would appropriate it over there and we would just pay for it that way.
So we don't have to bond the fire truck, right?
That's correct.
We would bond the one we're getting and we would have the money to put the down payment on the next one and then, you know.
That's a
the-
good idea.
The nice part is with the 3.1 million, you're getting down to where you're realistically looking at two payouts that are not funded. So you're looking at probably, I'm gonna say, somewhere $4-5 million, probably maybe even less, depending on what interest rates do in an unfunded liability, which is substantially lower. Now, in fairness, you've appropriated between the last 2.4 and this one, appropriated $5.5 million. So it's not like the liability went away, you just paid it off. But again, it's a testament to the town and the years of putting it together. Unfortunately, it was years of not funding it, but in a fairly short period of time, the town rallied the money and paid these people off. And the liability's gone.
Should have been a police officer, could have got to the bill.
No.
I know there's two that were smiling a lot.
Just give it to the financial guy, puts it, so we don't have to pay taxes until they use the money, it's a smart deal, I like that.
What are we at now for the bonding debt?
About 81 million.
So I'm sure we have to go over it.
Any, have you gone to any, meetings with the community center?
No, the first meeting kind of fell apart.
Have it?
Well, between Mark and her, and and Dave had a problem with his mother, and Brendan was on vacation, communications, couldn't get in, so we just try it again.
They
We
really
went on vacation. I mean, I
Really
leave
want-
tomorrow morning for vacation, and I really didn't need to have a meeting Monday either, so when they told me it was canceled, I went, good.
they really want 3 pools. Is that true?
Yes. 70,000 square foot. I've done a little research on it, and they're comparing to Newtown. And Newtown's is 46,000 square feet, they have 2 pools.
Why do they need 3 hundred?
I-
Why? Just out of curiosity.
A statement of need was put out, and this is what came back. So that's what they designed. And, I mean, even like, you look at Newtown, there's so many problems with that whole system, they're already falling apart. I didn't realize you're paying a membership fee in Newtown too, this is not, people think they're gonna get a free. You know, it's just all gonna be free, we're gonna go to the pool and this, that,
No.
we're paying $41 a month in Newtown to belong to the.
We're paying 700 plus. We still have it, of course,
Oh, yeah.
still have it.
700.
700 a year? Yeah, Newtown's $41 a month. I mean, you can belong to most gyms for, my wife belongs to the LA Fitness.
I have a
Center.
pool twice.
Yeah, she swims 3 times a week. So of course, she's yelling at me to get the pool bill here and everything.
If I could see 1 pool,
I mean, yeah, you know what,
Yeah, no.
there's a lot of ways to do it though, that's the thing. So, we'll see how it works out.
To make it right, we need 2 pools.
why?
We need one for the lanes, for the high school and stuff like that,
You need a competition pool and you need a therapy pool.
which is like a walk-in for like senior citizens, handicapped individuals that go into the pool. It's like a kind of a little, think like a little mini beach going into the pool.
It's a temperature thing too, the competition pool, they keep it cooler.
Yeah.
And it's actually what you would call cold if you were to go into it, so, do any kind of recreational swimming, so.
My point, I'm sorry for stepping in, the other thing is that knowing how much that juice to warm up the pool is gonna take on a monthly basis. They didn't think to put solar panels in. To heat up all that water monthly. It just seems
What
like,
I know is Debbie Dennis told me years ago, don't get a pool this town. Don't do it, just go ask the folks in Middletown how much fun it is.
lucky, you know, whenever West Hartford, all making money at part-time. Up on our feet, not sure where. It's the downside.
You know, Newtown's not making money off of anybody, they're getting $1 million grant from GE every year just for operations, and they were given 10 million to build the pool. And they're running out of deficit,
I think they have, of course.
so.
I know Plainville has it in the high school. Yeah, they do. In the high school, because my son was in the swim team.
Plainville High School?
Yeah.
I thought Plainville High School was using the Y.
No, not unless they close it. My son was on the swim team 8 years
Oh, I
ago.
know what it is, Plainville's,
They have a pool. When you walk in, the pool's right there. It's right there. As you drive in. It's right there because that's when we were in a competition.
their community center and senior center, and everything at Plainville is in the Y building. And they have a pool in there as well, so that the seniors can use that pool. But,
Is the third one for the diving? Was that added in later on?
third one is another therapy pool, more or less like a hot tub for 8 or 10 people. We haven't had a meeting yet, so I don't want to get too far into it myself in trouble.
I just,
Okay. Yeah, sounds like the rules, that's great. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
second,
All in favor? Thank you, Mr. Delaney.
thank you.
Can you find